Am I the a-hole for leaving my niece an inheritance but not my nephew? I was diagnosed with a terminal illness a few months ago. It's not a matter of if, but when, and the best estimate is that I have in the neighborhood of 1 to 2 years. I'm dealing with it. I've had a good life and no regrets. Part of dealing with it is getting my affairs in order before I leave the stage. My sister has 2 children, 13 female and 5 male. The 13-year-old is from her previous relationship, the 5-year-old from her current husband. My niece's father skipped out on them and my sister had a rough time of it, so I helped them out early on. Her husband is well off, so they're set now. But it's become very obvious to me over the years that he wishes my niece weren't in their lives. They don't exactly neglect her, but she's left out of a lot. And it's very obvious even to our parents that my nephew is heavily favored. I've talked to my sister about it at various points, but she's in denial, and I don't think would ever have the courage to stand up to her husband. I've tried to make it up to my niece in quiet ways, but I know it still hurts and I worry about her. I made some very fortunate business moves early on and I'm now sitting on a large chunk of change in a retirement fund that I will not live to use. My sister has made no plans for my niece's college or anything else, but the girl is incredibly smart and hardworking in school, and she deserves a chance to make the most of herself. It's my intention to have everything put in trust for her after my death, managed by my executor until she's 25 so that her parents can't touch it. She can have money for school, and some time to mature before being fully in control. My nephew already has a trust fund from his father, so he doesn't need the money. Ironically, this would put her in a better financial position than the rest of the family, but I think that's just as at this point considering how much she's put up with and missed out on. I sat down with my parents and sister to lay out my plans and end-of-life wishes, and my sister is deeply offended that I'm excluding her and my nephew. She thinks I should leave the money to her to split between them or set up equal trusts for the kids. My father loathes brother-in-law and said he agrees with me not letting him or my sister near the trust, but I could leave my nephew something to save face. My mother is too distraught to have an opinion right now. Brother-in-law made a joke later about contesting the will, and my sister isn't speaking to me. I feel like I have more responsibility to look after my niece since no one else is, while her brother will be okay. I love my nephew too and don't want him to feel bad when he's older. I've planned to leave him some non-monetary items. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole, but I would see a lawyer. I've heard too many times where people mentioned leaving the other person a nominal amount of $5,000 so that they can't contest the will. Granted, my expertise is coming from Better Call Saul and a few other shows, but I'd still check. The laws governing disinheriting someone vary. It could be you have to explicitly name them and state you are disinheriting them, or you have to give a token amount to demonstrate they weren't accidentally forgotten. Same thing with introducing a do not contest clause. OP needs to check with their lawyer and be careful with a will if they want the money to go to the niece as desired. OP actually needs to check with a lawyer at 100%, but in general, disinheriting somebody means like your spouse or child. Not an a-hole at all, but agree with your father. Maybe leaving a token something so your nephew isn't left feeling the way your niece does, that you didn't value him at all. But agree that the majority is left to your niece to ensure she gets the same leg up as your nephew. And make sure that you have it locked right that there can be no contest, and they should think long and hard about it if they want any sort of relationship with her daughter. I'd also leave a letter for your nephew explaining your rationale that he can read as an adult. It's your money and you leave how you see fit. I've planned to leave him some items from my grandfather as well as some of my collections which do have value, but I think he'd enjoy having the actual items more since he always wants to see them when he comes over. I would go ahead and create your niece's trust, with you as trustee and name a successor into creating documents, while you are alive, and move most of your assets to it, and then just leave a small estate in case brother-in-law's joke is not really a joke. Talk to a lawyer to confirm and create it soundly, but that will likely help assure your wishes are followed. Brother-in-law made a joke later about contesting the will. I would flip out if anyone did that to me. It's even worse if I had an estimated 1 to 2 years left. Now for the update. First, thank you for the kind condolences. It's never an easy thing to face, but there are worse things that can happen and I've already been more fortunate than most. As everyone has suggested, I do have a good lawyer and financial planner working on this, as well as a trusted friend in estate planning who will be my executor, so that this remains as far outside of family politics as possible. I do like the idea, as someone suggested, of leaving enough for university tuition locked down for my nephew, just in case his father is being dishonest about the trust, so I will discuss that with the professionals. I'm also leaving him some items of actual value, which I suppose he could sell if he chose. That being said, he has a large family on his father's side to help him, whereas my niece is only me and my parents locally. Our other family lives abroad and would not be in a position to help. I do also like the idea of making recordings and letters for them to explain the situation. Some here were worried about brother-in-law treating my niece badly in the next few years because of the trust, and that's something I've been concerned about myself. My niece would prefer to live with her grandparents, and they would be happy to have her. But my sister has been an obstacle to that because of appearances. I've compiled evidence of emotional neglect over the years, along with brother-in-law's shady behavior in general, and have discussed suing for custody with my parents in the event the situation worsens. I will work in some emergency funds for legal costs and such in the event that happens, or to allow my niece to emancipate at 16 if she chooses. That year or two gap might be difficult for her, but I think if it's clear that there are a lot of eyes on the situation and people in her corner, brother-in-law won't escalate too much, as it would draw unwanted attention to his other activities. Before I was diagnosed, I had floated the idea with my sister of paying to send her to a good boarding school, so she could get a better quality education, and maybe feel a little more comfortable away from home. That was received favorably at a time, so that may also be an option if my sister is still open to it. My parents and I do plan to sit down with my niece soon and discuss this with her. Make sure she's introduced to my executor and lawyer so she knows who she can reach out to if she needs help or advice, and prepare her for what's coming. I had planned a trip for all of us, sister and nephew included, back to my parents' home country for Lunar New Year, so I'm hoping that I'm still healthy enough by then to go, and that some of this can be worked out while my sister is away from brother-in-law's influence. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my stepdaughter her Christmas present from her grandparents if my son doesn't receive one as well? I, 31 female, have been married to Dan, 39 male, for 7 years and have Nick together, 4 male. Dan has a daughter, Mel, 11 female, whose mother passed away during childbirth. We met when Mel was 1. Mel's grandparents, Tim and Kim, maternal, used to not be a part of our lives. They never supported my relationship with Dan. They told Mel I was trying to replace her, that I didn't love her, and other comments. Dan decided to go no contact as he didn't like how they treated us in front of Mel, and how Mel began replicating that behavior. Last Christmas, we all reconciled due to world events occurring. During this time, Tim and Kim only brought presents for Mel and Dan. Me and my parents were also present, and we both bought presents for them, but it wasn't reciprocated. Nick noticed that his sister and dad got a present, but he didn't. I didn't like the behavior and knew as he got older, it'll become more apparent, and I don't want him experiencing that. Me and Dan sat down with them to explain how we felt, but they just acted surprised. I suggested we lay down boundaries at how we'd like to approach any gift-giving holidays to be better prepared in the future. We agreed that for birthdays and Christmas, we'd give gifts to everyone, and it was the thought that counted. Throughout this year, Tim and Kim only bought gifts for Dan and Mel's birthday. My birthday was in March and Nick was born in April, but we didn't receive anything, not even a card. Sent a text asking if everything was alright, but they said they were busy and wished us a happy birthday. For Kim's birthday, my parents let them stay in their second home so they could go on vacation. They took my parents up on that offer, yet when my parents' birthdays came up, they didn't receive a gift or a text. At this stage, we were all pretty frustrated, and my parents felt like they were taken advantage of, as Tim and Kim were only nice to them until after their holiday. Last week, Tim and Kim came to drop off presents for the kids, as they had been exposed and wanted presents with us in case they couldn't come over. They dropped off 2 boxes, both labeled Mel. I texted assuming that they'd accidentally written Mel's name twice, and asked which was which, but they told me both were for Mel. I asked where Nick's present was, but they said they weren't giving him one. No explanation. I was fuming, so I told Dan the situation before responding. We told them that we would not be giving Mel the presents from them unless Nick got one, as it wasn't fair, and we'd already agreed to give everyone gifts. They claimed that wasn't fair and we were showing favoritism, and how can we withhold a gift from an innocent child? And then said that I'd rewrap it and claim it was from Santa. They posted on Facebook about how I was favoring my child and punishing their grandchild for no reason, and this was met with criticism directed towards me. You're the a-hole for this instance. Nick isn't related to them at all. These are Mel's maternal grandparents. Her mother died in childbirth and you are now trying to cut her off from the rest of her mother's family because you want them to pay the toll of buying presents for you, your son, and your parents. That's unreasonable when their only family in your household is Mel. The comments about replacement / etc. were not acceptable, but you did not mention those as having continued or being the issue right now. Your issue is them not buying your entire family presents. As long as they are now cordial with you, that's really all you can ask for. It's so weird how hard you guys keep trying to force these folks to care about a kid they're not related to. Your son has grandparents and parents, and doesn't need Tim and Kim. Mel has her dad and them. I don't know what kind of mom you are and would never assume you aren't a great one to her, but at the end of the day, her dad and them are her only biological family. Why would they want to buy a kid that isn't their family presents? Let them have their thing with Mel, and if it's with Mel only and you don't like that, don't contact them more than you have to. I don't mean to be rude, and I apologize if this upsets you. Just my take. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for moving my pregnant younger sister into my house without asking my boyfriend's opinion? Info. My 29 female boyfriend, 31 male, and I have been together for 5 years, but he does not live with me full-time. We have a semi-long-distance relationship. We live about 300 miles away from each other. I own my house in my town and he owns his flat in the city he primarily lives in. We each pay our own bills, but chip in for food when we are at the other's place. We try and see each other for a long weekend every second weekend, alternating whose home we go to. My younger half-sister, 18 female who I'll call Lily, recently found out she was pregnant. She told her boyfriend, and his response was to break up with her and block her on all social media and her number. I'm not sure if it was him or someone in his family that reached out to our mom and told her Lily was pregnant. Mom has a very short fuse, especially when she has been drinking. Lily turned up on my doorstep at nearly 4 a.m. in her pajamas, crying her eyes out. Mom had apparently stormed into her room when she was sleeping. Mom was yelling, screaming, and very drunk. She smashed Lily's phone and iPad. Lily managed to grab her shoes and get out of the house, walking the 4 miles to my house. I live closer than our other siblings. At the time, I sent my boyfriend a text saying, "Stuff has gone down. Lily's at mine." When he woke up, I got a response saying, "Okay, talk later." In the morning, I rang my younger brother and we both went over to Mom's house. She was unconscious, breathing I checked, on the sofa. In 2 hours, we packed Lily's stuff into our cars and took it back to mine. All the siblings, 5 of us, talked and decided that for now, Lily will stay with me. She's still in school, so can't afford to live on her own. Our younger half-brother, 21 male, who is at university, will stay with our oldest brother when he comes back for the holidays rather than Mom's. That evening, after boyfriend had finished work, we talked about the situation. He knows how volatile my mom is, but he is not happy that I didn't talk to him before deciding to let Lily move in. He's now saying that he isn't coming to mine over Christmas. He was meant to come down today and stay over Christmas and New Year. His family lives near me, so he would see his family, not just me. He has decided that he's staying with his mother as he doesn't feel welcome at mine anymore. I've had a call from his mother asking what happened, and she said I was disrespectful to my boyfriend and she expected better of me. Am I the a-hole for not talking to my boyfriend before deciding to let my pregnant younger half-sister move in with me? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You do not live together. And I would have hoped you would be compassionate enough to understand your sister needs help, and that this will likely not be a permanent situation. Visiting family but not visiting you is childish behavior. I'd take these few days to really think about how his behavior makes you feel. Good for you for taking care of your sister and removing her and her child from a potentially dangerous situation. Thank you. Not the a-hole. It's your house and you two don't even really live together. If I got a text from someone saying I expect better, I'd probably go haywire. Until she said that, I didn't think I had done anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. Time to dump him and get a better boyfriend who would be supportive of you. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for making my relative pay for his uninvited guests' dinner? I recently graduated from college, and to celebrate this accomplishment, my family and I chipped in to have a buffet for my immediate family and some extended relatives and my godmother, also a distant relative, on a very nice restaurant. It's not exactly cheap, so everything is accounted for. and we informed them that those who are invited are the only ones who can eat. On the day of the celebration, to our surprise, my godmother brought in 3 co-workers of hers. They are total strangers to me. My dad said he would just pay for the surprise guests, but I put my foot down on it and pulled my godmother aside and told her she would have to pay for the guests she brought, because we only have the budget for the people we originally invited. She told me to consider it, and that this is a celebration. No need to be cheap about it. I firmly told her no, and that she would either have to leave or pay for them. She replied, okay, fine. After the 3 hours buffet, when it is time for billing, I specifically told the waiter to only count the original number of guests we reserved, and the 3 extras will be on a separate payment. My godmother was furious that we didn't relent and pay for her co-workers. She started ranting about it, but my dad told me and my mom to go home and he will deal with my godmother. After that incident, my phone was blown with text from my godmother who told me I embarrassed her in front of her co-workers. Turns out her co-workers ended up paying for themselves, even if my dad offered to pay for them. He guessed that the co-workers of hers didn't want to make the situation become more awkward, and it isn't a big deal for them. But my godmother was furious, and told me that paying for her friend's dinner was nothing compared to the gifts she gave me since I was a little baby. Am I the a-hole for doing this? Not the a-hole. Who the heck brings strangers to a relative celebration? Your godmother was beyond tacky for thinking this was okay. Tacky times 10. I would never invite her to another gathering ever again. After working in hospitality and hosting events, this is my ultimate pet peeve. This woman invited 3 extra uninvited people and demanded that the host pay for them. In essence, she wanted a guest of honor to be out of pocket for 3 randos. She embarrassed herself, and I hope her co-workers told her off for putting everyone, them included, in a tacky tango. I don't argue. I speak my piece, then ghost. Her rants would have been insane because she would be blocked until she simmered down, apologizes, and proves she can manage to not act like an a-hole.
Am I the a-hole for taunting my ex's widow after she lost her court case for visitation with my son? The father of my son, 4, left me for someone else when I, 25 female, was 6 months pregnant. Ex and this woman Mavis married when my son was roughly 3 weeks old. They demanded she come to his visits with our son, and I refused. My reason? They said he needed to get to know his mom as well as his dad, and she was definitely his mom now. They were married and everything, and yeah, that's how they argued it. I never stopped him from seeing our son, but I didn't allow her anywhere near my home, and our son was 10 months old before my ex could take him out for visitation. Then I could do nothing about her being there, but at least she wasn't calling herself my son's mom in my home. She did join my ex every time he dropped our son off with me, and she would try to start a fight because I wouldn't let her hold him to say goodbye once my ex handed our son to me. She'd get mad when I refused to let her spend time alone with our son too. X was awarded every other weekend visitation when our son was 18 months old. He lost that visitation when our son was 2 because his wife tried to take our son out of daycare without permission and the cops had to be called. He went back to visits at my house, and she was not allowed near my house or my son. That softened after a few more months. She had to issue an apology and take some classes, and then every other weekend restarted. Then my ex died last year. My son was with me at the time, so there was no fight to get him back, or her trying to run with him or anything, and I think she would have tried to keep my son if my ex had died during his visitation weekends. Mavis then tried to sue me for shared custody as his other parent. That case was thrown out because she was not a legal parent and had no parental rights to my son. Instead, she tried to sue for visitation, and unfortunately that went to court. It took a few months, and we had 2 dates before the judge in order to get a ruling. She was denied visitation. It was decided she had not played a big enough role in my son's life, and she wasn't his family anymore. I was relieved. Mavis was screaming about appeals as we left court. She tried to confront me a week after court, and I was feeling so done with her nonsense that I taunted her. and told her she would never be in my son's life again and to go F herself because she's all alone now, and with the way she acts, it didn't surprise me. She started screaming after me, but I kept going. It was only afterward I wondered if it was unfair, because she did lose my ex, and she might have felt some genuine care for my son. I don't know, I think she's just unhinged. But maybe I was still an a-hole. Am I? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If she keeps contacting you, keep track of everything for a paper trail, as you may need to get a restraining order against her. Also, double and triple check that daycare and/or school knows she is not allowed to take him. They probably already know this, but it sounds like she may try regardless. Hopefully your little man is doing all right after losing his father. Yeah, what's the matter with her? How can she even claim any rights? So strange. Also, I think she needs therapy. There's clearly something wrong with her. Stand your ground, queen. Gotta wonder if she got involved with a man whose partner was pregnant because she can't have her own kids. A little twist on the hand that rocks the cradle, maybe? Don't engage any further. If she approaches you or your kid, you need to file restraining orders and keep them active at all times and forever. She's got problems. She used to brag about giving him siblings, so I'm not sure if she's infertile. But she was really looking to push me out and take over. You thinking she may have run with your son if ex-husband died while she had custody tells the whole story. Not the a-hole. I am convinced she would have. She knew she hadn't a leg to stand on and I'd take him, so she would have kidnapped him. As it is, I'm relieved she never did it when ex was alive. Place her social media to private. Ask friends and family not to post anything about you or your son. Already done. I had that covered before ex died. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with girlfriend because she refused to go after my former roommate for child support? I, 24 male, have been dating my ex-girlfriend, 23 female, for 3 years now. When we first started dating, she told me that she had previously dated my roommate, 29 male. Okay, all that is in the past. After 2 years together, she introduced me to her child. Now we were at the 3-year mark and we were discussing moving in together. After talking about moving in together, she finally told me that my former roommate is the father of her child. I was not bothered by that until I realized that he has never once talked about his child or anything about child support. I know that he works as a gas station cashier, so I began to wonder how he could afford rent and groceries on top of child support. I asked my ex-girlfriend if he was helping with their child, and she said, "No, I chose to raise my child on my own." Which I thought was stupid because she doesn't earn much herself as a caregiver for obese individuals. I brought up going after him for child support since that's the bare minimum. She got angry and told me to mind my own business. I figured since we were discussing moving in together, then her child would become my business. I thought I was looking out for their welfare, but I guess not. She said I was being an a-hole and that I have no say when it comes to her child. I told her she should be doing better for her child. I then broke up with her because why put time into a relationship with someone who has a child if I'm not allowed to look out for that child's welfare? I also moved in with my parents until I can find a place to rent myself or a new roommate. Am I the a-hole for ending the relationship? Not the a-hole. I say this because if they were discussing moving in together, then everything should be discussed. Maybe he just feels as though the father should be supporting his child. And as far as child support and shared custody, I'm not sure why someone thinks they go hand in hand. There are quite a few people that I know who receive child support, and custody is not involved. I was confused by those comments actually. I looked up the laws for my state before even bringing up the child support. They are handled in the same court, but are legally two separate issues. You can break up for whatever reason you want. But honestly, I would say that the child support is none of your business, as long as she's not asking you for money for her expenses or bills or the child. Now, if she expected you to take care of most of the bills and help out with the child, then yeah, it was your business. So not the a-hole. You're helping pay for her child that's not even yours before you've ever moved in together, so she's definitely going to expect it after. You are contributing to her finances, so at that point it is your business. That is one of the issues that I had. She was comfortable enough with hitting me up for the things that cost money when it came to her child. I didn't mind since I didn't hand her cash or my debit card. I purchased the things her child needed myself. She was comfortable with me taking her child shopping for clothes. I paid for her child to go on class field trips. I grew up with a single mom, and I had a village help raise me. Neighbors donated clothes and some cooked me dinner most nights. So I was never bothered because I was that child feeling left out when it came to class trips. Her child deserved to be like their peers. Enrichment activities like that are important for child development too. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting my mom's things out of the house so dad can't give any to my half-sisters? My mom died when I, 17 female, was 5. Before she died, she sold a lot of her things that held very little meaning, and she wrote letters to me and dad saying what she wanted to happen to the rest. In the letter to me, which I got when I was 13, she said she was leaving me her jewelry and all her childhood mementos and keepsakes. She had a small stuffy collection, some really old books that were handed down, and some scrapbooks she made over the years. Even before I knew what was supposed to be mine, I asked for a lot of the stuff after she died. But dad said I was too young and that I would get that stuff when I was older and more responsible. But even though he thought I was responsible enough to read the letter, he still said I wasn't responsible enough to have mom's things. When I was 7, my dad remarried and had the first of my 2 half-sisters with his wife. I was 9 when my second half-sister was born. My dad used to talk about how much mom would have loved them and how he wished I'd share something of mom's with each of them when we were older to show how much I love them. I told him they weren't mom's kids, so I'd never do that. And he told me they might not be mom's, but they were my baby sisters, and it would be a sweet and meaningful connection between them. My dad's marriage has been falling apart for the last 3 years. Right now, they're separated but still living together, and they fight every day. A few weeks ago, dad announced out of the blue that he was going to share a piece of mom's jewelry with each of my half-sisters. He said there was a piece each that he thought would be perfect for them. At this point, he still wasn't willing to let me have mom's things, and he pointed out to me when we argued about it that mom only wrote it down in letters. She didn't put those wishes in her will. I told him it was because she trusted him, and clearly she was wrong because he wanted to give her things to someone else's daughters. And I said this because of the times he wanted me to give something to them. I said she would have loved my half-sisters because they were his, and she would have wanted him to be happy. I told him I would have always come before any other kids because I was her only, and I told him it was creepy and weird and gross that he wanted kids he had with someone else, who never met mom and never would, and who were not a part of mom's family, to have her jewelry or sentimental items. After he made the announcement about giving them something, I went searching when no one else was home and I found all the stuff. He kept it so well hidden that I almost didn't find it in time. But when I did, I hid it in my room overnight. And early the next morning, while nobody else was up, I brought it all to my maternal grandparents and asked them to keep the stuff safe from dad. They were really disgusted with him when I told them what was happening. It took another 3 weeks for dad to actually go look for mom's things to give to my half-sisters. And when he couldn't find it, he confronted me and we got into a fight. He accused me of stealing them, and I asked him why he didn't call the cops then, and he said they'd dismiss it as a petty thing, but I was a thief, and I was punishing my half-sisters through him. He said they were so excited to get the jewelry he mentioned, and I said because they wanted pretty things. He could go out and buy them their own jewelry. We fought for like an hour, or maybe even 2, and he kept calling me a thief and demanded I bring the stuff back, but I stood my ground and said no every single time. He tried to make me feel bad for not wanting my half-sisters to have the jewelry he promised. He said mom would have wanted me to share, and I told him she wouldn't. I said she wouldn't have left it all to me if she had. Then he said something about wanting to share the love I had for mom with my half-sisters, and I told him I would never want to, and I said it was because of him. He tells me to bring mom's things back at least twice a week, and I say no, and I told him they will never get the jewelry. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Good for you. Your dad is nuts. He is. But I think this latest announcement was supposed to be a dig at his wife to get under her skin. And if that was all, it'd be something I could ignore. But he wanted me to do this and bugged me for years. So I know he would seriously give the girls those pieces of jewelry and I would hate him for it. Go move in with your grandparents. The letter is proof enough that your mother intended to give you those things. Your half-sisters never even met your mother. Not the a-hole. It's all yours to give or keep as you see fit. I'm not sure if that holds up legally, but as far as Dad is concerned, it should be all he needs, as well as the fact I'm Mom's only child. Legit her only kid in this world, and he wants to give another woman's children pieces of Mom. It's so weird. I would keep that letter safe too. Maybe take that to your grandparents as well. It definitely shows intent. It was written by her and signed by her, not the a-hole. The letter is in one of the boxes at my grandparents' house. I made sure to keep it safe because it's the only letter I have from Mom. Last story. Am I the a-hole for blaming my former caseworker for messing me up by showing me proof nobody in my family wanted me when I was only 14? I, 18 female, went into foster care when I was 4 because my mom died and nobody knew who my biological father was. I didn't find a stable home and left foster care a few months ago, but I left pretty damn messed up. One reason was never having stability, and I was abused frequently by different families I was placed with. I never felt like I had a home, and I don't even strongly remember being with my mom. There's also stuff I never got therapy for that I should have, the kinds of abuse I went through. When I was 14, my caseworker told me I needed to wise up and stop looking for a family and start planning for my future. She showed me the file with the info on when I was placed in a foster care, and that's when I learned I had 2 half-siblings who were in their 20s when I was placed, and I had grandparents and an aunt as well, all maternal. All of them were asked about taking me or keeping in touch, and none of them did. The caseworker was like, "This is your reality. Deal with it and stop looking to find a family." She did it because I asked her why they never found a good family for me to live with, and why they all sucked in different ways. Her first reply was about my first 2 foster families being great, but I was removed both times. That was another thing that messed me up because it was so hard to get removed from the awful ones. I didn't do so well after and I almost didn't graduate. My head was just everywhere but school, and then I felt abandoned and like I was out on my own. I got my file and found the names of family and searched for them on social media and reached out to my bio aunt and half-sister. I didn't get a reply from either and was blocked by my half-sister, I'm pretty sure, so yeah. I struggled and then I got mad at my former caseworker because she left me to deal with that with zero help, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But when I told her this, she was like, "You can't blame me. You were supposed to wise up, not fall apart, and you needed to stop wanting things you couldn't have." It's made me feel more messed up, and I don't know. Am I the a-hole? I don't even care about the down votes. These comments are crazy. That was absolutely cruel and unnecessary to tell you. She let you down, and instead of hearing you and letting you know it's not your fault you got a crappy hand, she tried to make you feel like it was your fault. I am so sorry. I don't even have words for how lonely it must have felt all these years. But you are capable of finding a family still. I believe there's a tribe of people out there for you, and I really hope you find it soon. Nothing that has happened to you was your fault. Thanks. I still don't know how she decided that was needed in response to, why can't they find a good foster family for me? Never did I ask about bio family. I always assumed I had none. I don't have any hope that anyone could love me. It feels like I was never meant to belong anywhere. What she told me just made me feel like I was destined to be alone. See if you can report this damn social worker. She should not be in this job. She was also an abuser. You might be able to get into therapy now. I'm so sorry the system failed you so badly. Maybe your bio aunt could tell you who your father is? She might respond to that question. She didn't reply to me asking if we could talk, so I don't think she'll reply to me asking who my bio father is. I don't expect to hear anything back from any bio relative I now know about.